Advanced Leadership Training webinar with Global Wealth Trade Corporation. We're excited to have you with us for our part 2 of handling objections with our top earners and top leaders and hosts, presenters, Leo Scaler, Renee Liao, and Anne-Marie as well. I'm going to start off by introducing myself. So my name is Ina Benitez. I am a diplomat with Global Wealth Trade Corporation here in New York City. Excited to be on this webinar, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce one of our presenters this evening. His name is none other than Leo Scaler, of course. The person who, for many of you who don't know, actually introduced me to this wonderful opportunity and company about 2 years ago. Leo Scaler has changed my life and changed the lives of many, many people. He is, of course, our regional ambassador, top earner, top leader. He is also our President Award Cup winner, which is the most prestigious award that anyone can earn in the company, awarded once every single year. He's also been recognized as a top mentor and top trainer in the industry, and you can read and hear a lot more about him in interviews that he's conducted with independent media organizations such as businessforhome.org as well. Leo Scaler, are you on the call with us?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Ina, for that incredible introduction. It's great to have everybody on the call tonight. I am excited. I know the other presenters on this call are also excited. This is going to be a super duper how to handle objections part 2. If you missed part 1, you definitely want to watch the recording of part 1 that you can find in the GWT Family Facebook group. It's also on YouTube, where we talked about a lot of objections. Tonight, we've got even more objections that we would love and we are going to enjoy to handle for you, along with my other 2 very special guest trainers on the call. We're going to do our best to finish the objection handling on this call, but if we can't, there will be a part 3 because we want everybody to have the knowledge that you need in order to be able to handle objections in the best possible way. The next presenter that I want to bring on the call with me is none other than our youngest GWT millionaire, our national ambassador, President's Cup winner, award winner, shareholder, leadership group member, qualifier for our free luxury car program where he picked up his beautiful $130,000 BMW Monster 5 that he loves driving around. This man is known as the Bruce Lee of GWT because he karate chops compensation plans in half. We call him none other than Mr. Renee Liao. Renee, welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you so much, Leo, and I just love it when you introduce me because I just want to keep on hearing more and more and more. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for again, and this is just a great time tonight, folks, where we can cover more of the objections from last week, and of course, what an honor it is for me to have amazing trainers, people who walk the talk, people who eat, breathe, live, and sleep GWT. Of course, Leo Scaler, thank you so much for that introduction. And of course, we do have an amazing third trainer with us tonight. It's no other than our very own diplomat out of the Calgary, Alberta market. She is literally tearing up that market by storm. And I really want to have her again on the call with us because I've seen, in my travels, the way that she does her business. And I just love the way that she handles objections. And of course, as you can see on Facebook, her team is absolutely exploding. And so we do have, of course, a diplomat from wonderful, sunny, beef killing, a lot of steak out there, Calgary, Alberta. Anne-Marie, just want to make sure that we have you on the call as well, too. Are you there, Anne-Marie? We do have you unmuted on our side.
Yes. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for joining the call again tonight. And are you ready for part 2 of handling objections?
Oh, wow. This call is going to be so much fun. I am super pumped, super excited to this part 2.
Okay, well, folks, you heard from the story about it. Make sure that anyone in your team, who is alive or breathing, you want to make sure you give them a call, remind them, text them, Facebook message them, and make sure you get them on this call tonight because, folks, once you understand how to handle objections and once you know how to say the things that we say, this business becomes super, super simple. There are only so many kinds of objections you can get in this world, in this company. They're not an infinite amount. There's a finite amount. They might sound different, have that different accents, might sound Chinese accent or maybe, who knows what accent. But in the end of the day, they're all the same kinds of objections. Once you understand how to answer them, this business becomes super, super simple. So let's get started right away. And of course, as you can see on our screen here, you might have heard this maybe once, maybe twice, but it's the objection, well, I have no money. And now, of course, last week we kind of talked about how we want to peel back those layers on the onions. And what that means, again, for those of you who are new or who didn't watch last week's webinar, is that sometimes when people give you an objection, it doesn't really mean what they say, okay? So we did figure out if this objection is truly and really that they don't have any money in their bank account, or is it that they're not willing to shove out that money for this business, okay? So we did figure out if it's actually a true objection or not. And of course, as you know from last week's training, that there are generally all objections fall into two different categories. One, of course, is going to be the disbelief or the lack of belief in themselves, okay? Or one is limited belief in the industry of network marketing. So that being said, let's get into this. I have no money. And let's start off, Mr. Lior Scale, again, thank you again for being on the call tonight. And, if someone were to tell you, well, Lior, I have no money, what would you basically, how would you start off with that kind of an objection?
You have no money? Well, that's exactly why you need this business. It's really that simple. If somebody's telling you that they don't have money to do this business, what they're telling you is that they really need it. And you need to really make it clear to them that if they don't do this business, what possibly are they going to do in order to have money? Because if they can't afford even $169 to get started with their own virtual designer mall, then they cannot possibly be living a great life. And so if they want to live a great life, they're going to need to find a way to make some money. And what other possible way in the world is there to make residual income, to have more time and more money that's better than this opportunity? There is none. And that's where you really have to take a stand for them. That's where you really have to remind them that this opportunity is going to be the opportunity that will have them never, ever again say that they don't have any money. So, last week we were talking about feel, felt, found. You could say something like, I know exactly how you feel. I felt like I also didn't have the money to put in, or that I couldn't afford to get started with this business. And what I found was that if I didn't do this business, then I would never have the money to be able to do what I've always wanted to do in my life. Okay? So feel, felt, found works really great in those situations. You could also use the if would you scenario that we used last week as well. So something that you could say if somebody says I have no money is, well, if you did have the money, would you get started? And if they say, well, yes, absolutely I would, then the magic question would be, why? Why would you get started? And now you're going to have them remember their why. Now they're going to say, oh, because I really want to spend more time with my family. I really want to travel the world. I really want to do all the things that I've always wanted to do. Well, that's exactly why you need to do this business. Because if you don't do this business, how are you ever going to live your dreams, right? So those are some really good scenarios and situations that you could use in order to talk to people about the objection, I have no money. I'm sure Renee and Anne-Marie come across this all the time, and they have some wonderful suggestions.
Oh, absolutely. And, so Anne-Marie, why don't we start with you second of all here. So what would you say, if at all different than Lior, when someone says to you that, well, I don't have any money, what would you say, Anne-Marie?
Well, you know what? I had exactly the same challenge. I didn't have enough money to pay for my bills, let alone start a new business. But when I thought about it, I realized that if I didn't have enough money to pay my bills now, how was I going to change that in the future, right? I was so tired of being behind. I was so tired of always scrambling that I wanted more out of life. So, well, actually, you know what I did? I found a way, and it was the best decision I ever made. So by there, I asked them, let me ask you something, Renee. If you truly felt that that was a chance for you to take control of your financial future, do you think you could find a way to make it happen? That's my story. That's what I say to people because that's exactly how I felt. So I go back to the fields I found and ask them the question, if I would you. And
wonderful.
It was,
Yeah, and so pretty much, I think you're getting the point here where, again, we want to identify if really and truly is a matter at hand, they really don't have the money. So I love, again, of the whole, if I would, if you had the money, we should start it because, if they actually said yes, then you know that the issue is really the money. If they, and when you ask that question, so if you had the money, would you do this? Sometimes you'll hear another objection. If you hear another objection, it usually means, again, that, well, it wasn't the real reason here, right? So, I love both examples. They're perfect what I do with the Field Thoughts and Found from both Anne Marie, of course, and Lior. And, just more points for you guys to understand. When you hear this objection, if truly and really they don't have the money or they're tight but they love the business, that's where sometimes you want to give some tough love, after you use the Field Thoughts and Found. And something that I love to tell someone is, look, if you don't have, it's very similar to what Lior said, if you don't have $169, that is less than $1 per day to be in a business that can possibly change your life forever. If you don't have that $169 in your bank account, you seriously need to borrow that money and start this business. And, you want to say it in a very serious way. And likewise, what I tell someone, just to kind of give that tough love is, John, the money you have in your bank account today, the car that you drive, the house that you live in, or the house that you don't live in, or, the place that you're renting, what you have, what you eat, what you buy for clothing, all of that, there's only one person to blame or to thank, and that's you. And so, if you're getting tired of living the spot that you're living, then you seriously need this business, right? And so, I really love to be able to identify if truly and really this is really their objection they have on mine. And, sometimes you'll find out that they have actually other objections. And so, you want to sort of slowly and patiently, as we talked about, go through each one, answer each objection. And after you've done all the objections, like we said last week, they have no choice but to join because it just makes sense. And so, of course, the other tactic that we always love to use, and going back to lots of training here, is about the tax savings. If you live in Canada or U.S. or in Australia and certain countries, again, if you have no money or if you're in debt, this is the kind of objection that's very similar to when someone tells me, Renee, I'm actually, my credit card bill is maxed out. I have, $2,000 in debt. What I would say is, well, listen, if you're in debt, you seriously need this business because to invest $169 for this business and to get back tax savings of $3,000 and $9,000, you could seriously help pay off your debt. Right? And so, again, I always love to use the tax example, especially for people in Canada, USA, or Australia, because it's a logical no-brainer. And I might even tell someone, listen, you've got to be dumb to not do this. When you have that bond close enough where you spend enough time talking to that person, I would even tell everyone, you got to be silly, you got to be insane to not do this because, you're just throwing away money to the government. Right? So again, great way to handle this objection here. Again, there's a lot of things you can add in to slowly change the mind there. And Lior, why don't you add some more points here, buddy?
Yeah, I got just a couple more points here. Sometimes what I say is, well, what would you do if you're driving and your car breaks down and you need brakes, or else your car's not going to go, and you have to go to work tomorrow, and your brakes cost $169? Are you going to find $169? Absolutely, you will. So it's not the money, okay? A lot. Again, we're just peeling the layers of the onion, because when you ask them a question like that, what they're going to realize is that what they just told you makes absolutely no sense at all. Okay? So usually it's not the money. Okay? Now, if it's not the money, then maybe we need to figure out what it is. Maybe they don't understand what the opportunity is. Maybe they don't understand how to make money. Maybe it's the belief in the industry. Maybe it's the belief in the company. Maybe it's the belief in themselves. It could be a couple of those things, and it's our job as consultants. You know, there's a reason why we're called luxury consultants. And what a consultant does, and this is what I did when I was consulting with Microsoft 6 years ago, is you ask questions. Consultants ask questions to gather as much information as they can so that they can provide solutions. But if you don't ask questions, you can't give solutions, because you don't know what their problem is that you can find a solution for. So before you tell them this is, you know, this is the greatest thing in the world, well, it's not going to matter to them if they're lacking belief in the industry or in the company or something like that, or if they don't know how they're going to have enough time or something like that, or another objection behind the money objection. So take it upon yourself as a luxury consultant to really care about, well, let's really dig in here and let's peel the layers of the onion and let's figure out what is it exactly that's behind the objection, I don't have money, because we all know it's usually never the money.
And, you know, Lior, I mean, perfectly well said there. And I'm sure you found as well that sometimes people just had that natural, you know, it's almost like bad programming from when they were kids to just naturally say, you know, I don't have any money, because that's like that kind of like the whole, the broke mentality passed down, you know, in the Rich Dad Poor Dad books. And, you know, I find that it's fun when you are able to sort of break that train of thought, to sort of break that thought process, and give people a different point of view or different perspective, you know. And sometimes I love to even bring in the examples that, you know, I'm sure, and John, I'm sure that you know, on a yearly basis will spend anywhere from, you know, $500 to $3,000 on things that never paid you back. You know, I'm sure that during Christmas time, you'll buy gifts for friends and family that are well over a few thousand. And so what's incredible about GWT is that, you know, you can spend the exact same kind of money here. You know, so instead of buying, you know, gifts for Christmas from the stores or, you know, from the malls that make who rich, it makes the stores and the malls rich. Now you can actually invest that money into a package with GWT, you know, $3,000 package, and get back, you know, $9,500 worth of products that will cover your Christmas shopping and your gift shopping for the next 2-3 years. So in reality, GWT is actually going to save you money in the long run. And of course, you know, I feel like sometimes fancy guys that come in, you know, nice leather jackets and nice, you know, nice shoes, and they're telling me that they don't have the money. And I already know, as we were said, that that's not really the case. They already have the money. And what I will say is, look, John, you know, I'm sure you bought things that are well more than $4.99. I mean, your jacket that you're wearing probably costs, you know, over $500. But let me ask you a question: did they ever pay you to wear it? So it doesn't start making sense to start putting, you know, money into things that will make you richer. And a part of these questions is going to help your prospect develop the right kind of mindset of using money to make money, right? And so, you know, sometimes people as well, we might as well mention this other objection right now. And this other objection is when, you know, someone says to you, well, I want to start the diamond package right away, but I don't have the money for it right now. I mean, Anne-Marie, you know, if someone were to tell you that I want to start the diamond package, but, you know, I want to save up for a weekly diamond, you know, what would you say in that kind of situation?
Well, actually, I would bring it up as I would let them know, you know, diamond is a great package to start with, and I totally know where you're coming from, because same with me, I wanted to start there. But sometimes it's better off to start at another package, whichever you can afford, and work your way up, right? So if I were to show you how you can pay rather the difference from another package, or how you can get for diamond for free, you'd be ready to get started, right? So really I would bring up some of those questions and make it towards where they're at, where their financial are at. And at that point, they'll probably say yes, and I'll ask them, so which package worked for you?
And, you know, I love how you asked that question. I hope that you heard what you just said, because it's very, very smart what you just did. Again, just to rephrase what I believe I heard you say was, you know, when you asked them, you know, well, again, not done, but, you know, if I can show you a way of how to start at a lower package or get diamond for free, you would want to get started, right? Is that what you said?
That is exactly what I said. I always finish with a question that would be a positive answer.
Right. I mean, and so I hope you can see why, the closings of people on this call tonight are going to be really high because, they're saying the right kind of words. And so instead of saying, if I could show you how to get the higher package, would you consider joining? No, it's more, would you get started right away, right? And I love that positive affirmation questions because, again, it's a positive question that would get a positive answer. So, way to go, Emery. I love that. Lior, any other thoughts on what you would say if someone says, oh, I want to save up for diamond?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand why you would want to save up for diamond. It's the best package to get started with. Did you know that you can get started at a lower level and then upgrade later? You see, a lot of people, they miss that in the presentation, and they don't know that they can actually upgrade. So when they see the diamond and they want the diamond, because obviously everybody would want the diamond, and they're like, oh, $3,099, I want it, but right now I can't really afford it, and they think that they can't do the business because they can't do the diamond, and they don't understand that they can get started at a lower package and then upgrade. So again, it's our responsibility to be able to educate people so that they have the proper knowledge to make the proper decision. So if they can't afford diamond, then you can go one step lower and say, well, how about gold? Is gold a package that you could get started with right now? And if they say no, okay, well, how about Plankston? And just keep going down until they find a package that they can get started with. So if they want the diamond, that obviously means that they're interested in the business, and if they knew that they can get started with the retailer, then they would. And usually, at least with the retailer, maybe even gold, Plankston, silver, at least one of the other packages. But here's another way that, or another question that you can ask the prospects to get them thinking in a different way. You could say, well, what if you walked into the Gucci store and you wanted to buy let's say a handbag for $500, and Gucci said, well, we have a new promotion where you could buy a handbag for $500 and you get a free business, and now you can get paid to wear and promote Gucci. Well, you went in there to buy the handbag, so obviously you're still going to get the handbag. Now you're getting a business on top of that. Well, what is the difference with GWT? There's no difference, because if you get a silver package, you're getting $500 of products free. So forget that you're investing in a business and just think about it like you're buying $500 worth of stuff and getting a free business, right? So when you say that to the customer again, or to the prospect again, that has them thinking in a completely different way so that they can actually make a decision.
I love that.
About investing in a business that's actually going to make a difference in their life. So, I love all of the answers that Renee and Anne-Marie gave, and I think everybody on this call has a big toolkit of responses that they can now give to the objection, I have no money.
And really, when it comes closer as well, right, Lior or Anne-Marie, to an occasion like Mother's Day, Father's Day, or even Christmas time, I mean, so often I'm telling people, look, you're going to spend $500 buying gifts for friends and family, right? And they're saying, well, yeah. And I say, well, why wouldn't you, again, similar to Lior's story, why wouldn't you not get a package, get $500 worth of posh items, and that's all your Christmas shopping done for you. But now when you're giving gifts, of fairy and posh to your friends and family, it's not going to be to promote your business and help you attach a catalog with those products. They'll give you more sales here now, right? And of course, really important, folks. I think when that objection is brought up about I want to start at or I want to take over for a diamond package, Lior and Anne-Marie, how often are you guys bringing up the team strategy or the power of positioning in that particular objection? And perhaps Anne-Marie, you can go first.
Thank you. Well, for me, actually, it depends on the person, but very often I'll show them. I love Sherry Zhao's stories, so I love sharing stories because that's what people can relate to. So I'll share her story of the fact that she waited a few days and had to think about it, and then I'll show the team strategy on top. But really, I guess it all depends on the person. I don't show it all the time. I find that usually by asking the question that's been said, whether you're yourself or what I was sharing earlier has been said, by that point usually they're ready to get started, whether it's a gold or Plankston or silver, very rarely retail or somehow. But but they're all good, right? So I don't feel personally, in my experience, that I have to bring up the team strategy for that end. What about you, VR?
Yeah, I think what you said, Anne-Marie, regarding sharing stories is very, very important. You know, we are, as our CEO and founder, Ramin Masgarlo, always says, we're highly paid storytellers. And so the more stories that you share about people who also did not get started right away for whatever reason, including the objection, I have no money, and then showing those people how much money those people actually lost by not getting started right away, well, that has them say, well, I'm a smart person, and smart people don't lose money, so I need to get started right away. So Sherry's story is a story I share all the time. You can definitely ask Sherry at the convention, which is coming up next weekend, for that story. And Sherry, you're welcome for the lineup of people who are going to be asking you to share your story with them. There's also our own CEO and founder, Ramin Masgarlu's story. When he actually first got started in the direct sales industry, he also had the objection, I have no money. And, you know, the person who was introducing him into the business said to him, well, what if I told you that my Porsche that I'm selling right now, I'm selling it to you for the price of getting started in this business, which is a couple of $1,000. Could you find the money? And he said, absolutely, right? So, again, sometimes it's not about not having the money, and even if you don't have the money, it's about being creative to be able to find the money, because we have luxury consultants who really did not have the money, but they got 1, 2, sometimes 3 part-time jobs just to be able to get the money to get started in this business, because they saw how valuable and what a difference this business was going to make in their life. So if you don't have the money, well, you could find the money. You could borrow it. You could put it on a credit card. Some people don't realize that. Some people don't understand that they can borrow it. And it's okay to borrow money if it's for a business investment. You're not buying it to, you know, go on a roller coaster or go to have fun. You know, you're buying it to invest in a business, right? And, you know, it's okay to take a part-time job to make money to invest in a business that's going to have you never have to work another day in your life. That makes sense. So giving people these options and giving people these ideas to help them to be able to find the money to get started, that usually works as well. And so, yeah, absolutely, the team strategy and sharing stories of our regional ambassador, Sherry Zhao, and our CEO and founder, Ramin Masgarlu, definitely highly recommended.
Fantastic. All right, folks, and you know, and as a quick tip, if you ever have someone who's joining your business, these people who tell you that they don't have the money, these are the best people. In fact, you know, call everyone who didn't join you, because when you have a brand new person joining, what you want to do is you want to call every single person who you showed business to before and who didn't join, and just tell them, look, you know, I mean, I have someone brand new joining. I spoke to you first, and if you want to get in now, and now's a great time. And sometimes allowing someone else to get in before someone else joins, because they know that, you know, because you showed them first, and you know, you want to give them the opportunity of being in first, will actually push them over that fence, of course, have them join the green field, of course, and be part of your business here. So I think we really tackled this one pretty well. And again, you know, other quick things you can say really quickly here is that, you know, if you don't have the money, then what you've been doing, John, for the past 5, 10, 15, or 50 years, you know, isn't working. You know, you need this business, again, for tax saving, but you want to change the next 5 years, right? So, and one thing that I would like to say as well in some of my closings is that, you know, for me, when, you know, we're all going to the same place, when that day comes and I look back on my life, I won't even remember spending this $500 or this $3,099. You know, what would matter to me is whether I did all that I could do to leave a legacy behind and to provide my children the best lifestyle they could possibly have. To have known that I tried and gave it my best in life. Because in truly and really, $3,000 when you're, you know, when the time comes when you're, you know, 80, 90 years old, 120 years old, that $3,000 will mean nothing to you at that point in time. But if it could change your life today, imagine what it would do for you. Okay, so some other really cool points I like to mention, you know, when I am talking about this objection here. Moving along, so similar to, you know, I have no money. What if someone says, you know, Anne-Marie, well, Anne-Marie, you know, I need some time to think about it. Again, you know, what would you sort of say in this kind of situation?
Well, I would actually ask them the question, like, what is it exactly that you need to think about? You know, I'm looking to peel that layer, that onion, right?
Perfect.
Because I want a clear picture of what exactly you need to think about. You know, are you worried you're going to lose money, or are you worried you're going to make too much, or like what is it, right? Because again, and that's where actually I bring more Sherry Zhao's story, because you know, Sherry had to think about it, and she went home and thought about it and gave it a few times. I'm going to say about 10 days, I believe. And during those 10 days, you know, other people joined her business. And what happened is that now that she's in, she lost out on a few people, right? So I wouldn't want you to think about it too long and lose out on anybody. So, and like I go in more details with Sherry again. Sherry will be at convention, so make sure you're at convention to hear. That is key, but really at the end of the day, I'm peeling out, like, what is it that you need to think about, so I can send you the right tools, the right website. But primary, I mean, if you know, if you truly feel that you can make money and save money with your taxes, what else do you need to think about?
Right.
Right? So those are, like, my questions in people who I need to think about.
So, you know, it sounds like this objection really isn't the objection, right? This is like the outer layer of the onion, right?
Totally. Like, it's not, everybody wants more time, everybody wants more money, so this business offer both, right? So it's about thinking about, like, it goes back to they might not believe in themselves. They might, I don't know, there's something. You need to find out the roots, exactly what that question is. And once you find that, then you can answer that. And now, by answering that with, again, a story or feel self-found or anything like that, you'll be ready to get started because you truly believe where you're going.
And, you know, I just wanted to say that, you know, I hope that after tonight's call that we don't, you know, turn Sherry Zhao into a depression mode tonight because of all the stories we mentioned tonight. You know, but really, Sherry Zhao is doing amazingly well in the company right now. And she did just send a message saying, you know, laugh out loud, thanks for promoting my story with every prospect. I hope people don't need to think about it after they are hearing it. Again, Sherry Zhao's story, if you don't know what it is, folks, you know, it's a really powerful story, and make sure you get it either from your upline, so you want to call your My5, ask, hey, what is Sherry Zhao's story? And eventually you're going to find out, or of course at convention, and we can ask her in person what was her story. And I know her story very well because I was actually in her story. So, but Lior, how would you answer this objection? I need time to think about it.
Well, we actually have Sherry Zhao actually commenting here saying, thanks for promoting my story with all of your prospects. I hope people don't need to think about it anymore after they hear my story. So thank you, Sherry, for waiting for us so that everybody can get started right away. So when it comes time to thinking about it, you know, really you need to have them realize that what they're going to be losing out by thinking about it, and not only what they're going to be losing out on, but what they've already lost. You know, here's another story that you can use. Again, I hope you're writing down all these stories because these stories will make you $1 million. You know, one of our diplomats in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Sandy Wynn, you know, she got started last December and was only in the business for 1 month. Which is the last month of the tax year, right? The tax year goes from January to December. She got started in December, so the last month of the tax year. And because she didn't wait until January, okay, because she got started in December, the expenses and the write-offs that she incurred in December allowed her to get back $5,000 on her tax return. That's 1 month's worth of expenses in her business, and she got $5,000 cash back in her pocket only 2 to 3 months later. Okay, so you know, if she would have waited until January, she would not have gotten those tax write-offs for the previous year. All right, so again, you know, it's our job to explain to people what they're going to be losing by not getting started. And you know, if they're taking a trip somewhere, like let's say they're taking a trip to Hong Kong, you could say, well, would you like to take a trip to Hong Kong and spend $3,000 for that trip, or $2,000 or whatever it's going to cost, or would you like to go to Hong Kong and actually put that money back in your pocket so that trip is free? And then they would say, well, how do I do that? Well, by getting started in this business, and then you can explain to them the tax benefits of owning their own business. And now they're going to want to get started before their trip to Hong Kong, because if they get started in the business after their trip to Hong Kong, well, they're not going to be able to use that trip as a tax write-off if they plan to do any business, if if they're going to be doing any business over there in Hong Kong. Okay, so that's definitely something that you want to bring up to them is, even if they don't have a trip, are you going home after this meeting? Great. Would you like to write off your gas on your way home? Yes, great. Get started in this meeting, because this meeting was a business meeting, and so you could write off the gas that you paid to go home from this business meeting. So they could actually start saving money as soon as they fill out that application form and get in their car. They're already saving money just from the tax advantages of having their own business. So again, a great tool to use in your tool belt. And sharing Sherry's story, tongue twister, sharing Sherry's story, that definitely makes people realize that how much money they actually could lose just by waiting 10 days. Sherry waited 10 days and she lost thousands and thousands of dollars every single month just in residual income, just by waiting those 10 days. So people don't realize what they're going to be losing, and they just go home thinking that it's okay for them to wait a month. It's okay for them to wait 2 weeks. It's actually not okay to even wait an hour, because in that hour that you go home and you're thinking about it, somebody might get put into the business before you, and if that person's actually in your team, they could make you $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $50,000 a month. Can you imagine waiting an hour to get started in this business and losing $50,000 a month? Wouldn't it be worth it to get started at least 169, reserve your spot, and then upgrade later? I don't know. I'm not a rocket scientist, but it makes sense to me.
And, folks, I think the point here, it's about promoting that urgency and sort of sharing with them the loss they might incur here. And again, everything was said perfectly from Anne-Marie and from Lior. You can ask them, looking at a very clear picture, what specifically is holding you back. And sometimes you'll find out that, it's the silliest thing. Like, who knows? Maybe they're thinking, well, actually, I want to get started, but I don't know how to join. Like, who knows what they're thinking, right? So you just want to ask specifically what's holding you back. Or you maybe want to ask, well, what do you have to lose? Truly and really, what do you have to lose? Is that 139 going to kill you? Is that $1 a day for coffee, but here for a business going to kill you, right? So, and again, of course, we already talked about some tips here about leveraging the tax benefits of joining now. And, I always love to ask this funny question, and I asked it during my tax training, which is where I asked someone, okay, look, Lior, if you were all by yourself and there's no one around you for a mile, and you found a toonie on the floor, like a $2 coin on the floor, would you pick it up? And, the prospect is usually thinking about it, and they're like, well, yeah, of course. And I would say, well, so would I. Of course I would. And then I would ask, well, how about a loonie? And well, yeah, okay. Well, how about a quarter? 25 cents. Well, yeah, of course I would. How about 10 cents? Even 5. People would pick up even a penny. I've done it before. And the reason why I ask this question is because now they're saying yes, 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 yes in my answer. And I tell them, by you not having this business, by the time you go and buy your next meal, whether it's tonight or tomorrow's breakfast or tomorrow's lunch, that a $20 meal, that $10 meal, by not having a business, you're basically losing the write-offs of getting back $2, $3 per meal. So by you not having this business, you're leaving these toonies and loonies and $5 bills everywhere you go. And instantly they understand, wow, I really need to have this business right now. Okay, I think we've done this one pretty well. Let's go on to the next objection because there's a lot more coming here, folks, right? So, again, I talked about stories of people and the stacking effect. Here's a cool one here, guys. I don't like or wear jewelry, or it's a business for females, or I'm not into jewelry. Kind of the same kind of objection. And so let's start again with Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, what would you say if someone tells you one of these kind of objections here?
Well, basically I'd start with asking them, well, or telling them, you know how everybody buys jewelry or accessories or clothing or fashion in store, right? So ask that question, and then ethical type of person. He likes to do lots of research. So I'll share a story with them of, my husband actually came up to me the other day and said, wow, Anne-Marie, I just find out these statistics that 90% of the population wear jewelry. I'm like, okay. He's like, well, and the other 10%, so basically he went with like, if 90% of people wear jewelry, that's pretty good for your business, for anybody's business. Now the 10% that don't wear it, they actually still buy it for the 90%. So now you're in a business that 100% of people buy jewelry or buy accessories. So would it make sense for people to buy it from you versus going to the mall and make the mall rich, right? Sometime I'll bring up the McDonald's restaurant, because Ronald McDonald did not start a franchise because he loved eating burgers, but he knew that people would actually buy burgers every single day because they're in a rush to eat, and why better than having a store where people will buy over and over and over. So let me ask you, if you truly felt that people would buy all the time from you versus the store, which one would you prefer make rich, yourself or the store? That's kind of where I'd take it.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And again, Lior, your turn. Anything you would say in this case here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I know exactly how you feel. I felt the same way. I wasn't a jewelry guy when I got started in this business. I didn't even have a watch, but as soon as somebody said we're going to pay you to wear a watch, I said, now you're talking my language, right? So again, it's not about it. It really has very little to do with the products because, would you rather have your dream or would you rather have your dream job? Your dream job is a job that you have where you're selling products that you love, but if you're not getting rewarded for it and if you're not getting paid for it, are you still going to sell products that you love? Probably not, right? Let's say that you were selling products that you really love, that you really enjoy, your favorite type of products, and that company eliminated the compensation plan and you were making zero money for selling the products. Would you still do it? No. So what does it matter that you like the products? That's not what this business is about. This business is about living your dreams. This business is about having residual income so that you can have the time and the money to do what you've always wanted to do. And what better product to do that with than a product that has the highest profit margins in the world, which will allow you to make the most amount of money. You see, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is that they make a decision whether or not to do this business from a consumer point of view. And this is what it sounds like when somebody's making a decision from a consumer point of view. I like the product. I would wear the product. This sounds like a product that I would like. That's somebody that's making a decision from a consumer point of view. But what you need to look at this business as is from a business owner point of view. And as a business owner, this is what it sounds like to look at an opportunity from a business owner point of view. Does 90% of the world wear the product? Are lots of people already using the product? Does the product have a high profit margin? Is there lots of competition? Are people, going to want to use the product with or without me? That's called looking at it from a business owner point of view. And, a lot of people, they've never been to business school. They've never been trained on business. So they don't understand to look at opportunities from a business owner point of view. And again, something that I mentioned earlier is that we are luxury consultants. It's our job to educate people and to give them the knowledge that they need in order to make a right decision. So That's exactly what I say to people. What I say to people is, you know, most people make a mistake by looking at this opportunity from a consumer point of view. But if you look at it from a business owner point of view, it doesn't matter if you like the product. What matters is 90% of the world loves the products and are going to buy it, and there's a huge market for it, and so you're going to make a lot of money that's going to allow you to have the freedom that you want. That's how I would answer that question.
Folks, I hope you are writing this stuff down. This stuff is like, this is like money. I mean, this is, you know, money being thrown at your face. I hope you're writing down.
I think we should actually charge them to listen to this webinar. What do you think, Renee?
We'd be multi-billionaires. No, I suppose, no, again, one thing that I personally like to do, especially with certain people who are kind of, you know, maybe arrogant or a little bit sort of, you know, pushy when they give me this objection, is I always ask them, look, you know, do you like junk? Like, do you like garbage? And they're thinking, what the heck is Renee? I like garbage. Of course I don't like junk. I don't like garbage. But then I'll say, well, John, if you can make $1 million, you know, or even like $1 billion in the junk or garbage business, would you do it? And all of a sudden, you know, now they're understanding the point we're trying to make here, which is it's not about what your passion is. It's not about your passion, you know. And like we were saying, I had a lot of people out there who are like, well, you know, I'm really passionate about this cream that I use. It really helped my face get more clear. I'm really passionate about this weight loss thing here because I really lost about 40 pounds. You know, they don't understand, again, that it's not about what you're passionate about. It's about what makes you money. And so I then tell them, you know, there's a company called 1-800-GOT-JUNK here in Toronto that has made over millions and millions of dollars by collecting people's junk. And so that's the question, you know, because it really throws them off. You know, do you like junk? Do you like garbage? And they're like, So, you know, we love to just sort of interrupt the thought process, throw those questions out there again. Again, I hope you guys are writing stuff down because it is money, 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 money here. Okay. On to the next objection here, and we've already covered the McDonald's example, the dream job versus the dream. Okay, that's already done. Next objection. I need to discuss with my partner, spouse. Sometimes the guy might say, well, you know, my wife is the boss, or you know, that kind of thing here. So, you know, Anne-Marie, you get first. What would you say if someone says, well, Anne-Marie, you know, I want to go home and talk to my husband, because, you know, he pays all the bills, and, you know, he's the man of the house, and, you know, I'll get in trouble. What would you say in a situation?
Well, of course, you want to talk to your spouse about it. I totally get it. You know, you want to make sure your spouse is supportive of you. Often, I ask them the question, basically, you know, do you see how this can help you make and save money, right? And I'll get the yes, of course. And then I say, well, it's pretty exciting, right? So now, the thing is that when you come home now and explain all this to your spouse, you're really not the best person, and not that where I'm going, sorry, I'm just looking for my words here too. Basically, is when you're going to come home and try to explain all this, you'll probably bring it up in a very confusing way because that was a lot of information in such a short time. So when you try to explain everything, your spouse will probably get confused, and anybody confused will say no to anything, right? And your spouse is there to protect you. So what I do instead is, well, let me ask you, you know, let's say, hypothetically speaking, your spouse says no. Would you still want to do this business, or would you still do this business? And most of the time I hear yes. So let's get you started, because here's the thing that's going to happen is that when you come home and talk to your spouse, here's the two options. Let's say you haven't started. You come talk to your spouse. Now your spouse is confused and says, no, we're not doing this, or very negative about it. Then now you're losing out, and it's going to be a lot harder for you to convince him or her. Now, if you get started now and come home and say, honey, I just started, we need to talk about it. If your spouse is negative about it, which usually doesn't happen because they realize actually you're serious about it. Otherwise, you would have waited and talked to him or her. So let's get you started, and let's schedule a meeting where I can come or your upline can come and explain in a better way what this business is all about. Does that make sense? So I asked them those kind of questions. Again, I kind of peeled down a little bit more than just talking to the spouse. And I will always bring up if you show up home and you haven't get started, then you're not really serious, and your spouse will know that. But if you have started, your spouse will really realize that you're serious about it. And I would actually even share a story, because I have a story that a lady joined, and she didn't want to talk. Well, she wanted to talk to her spouse, but she was worried of what he'd say. So she came home, she came home and told him, and she knew that by doing this, he would take her seriously. And she started as a lower level, as a silver, and then after talking to the spouse, they both decide to upgrade to diamond. So I'll bring up something like, you have 30 days to make your decision on which package you really want to be at, or to get there. So let's just get you started now, and then we can schedule a meeting with your spouse. How does that feel? How does that sound? So that's kind of where I take it. What about you, Lior? How would you take this objection of need to speak with spouse?
Well, you made some great points there, Anne-Marie, and something that I would, a thought that I have is that it would kind of be weird to go home and say, hey, I just saw these guys who want $3,000 for some jewelry thing. You know what I mean? I mean, of course you should expect them to think that there's something wrong with what you just said, right? Because, most people, when they first see the business, they don't really understand how to explain it to somebody. They just know that it's a good thing to do because of all the benefits that the company has, but they don't understand how to explain those benefits to somebody else. So it doesn't make sense for somebody to go home and to explain it to them. And this is where we as luxury consultants need to step in and to tell people, listen, you have just seen this for the first time. There's no possible way that you can go home and explain what you just saw to anybody, okay? So, one thing that I say is, what I would recommend that you do is that you go home and say, honey, I just saw something that I'm really excited about and that I will be doing, and I just want you to know what I'm going to be doing, okay? So this way, it's not like you're asking permission, because in my opinion, you shouldn't need permission to do something that you really want to do, okay? This way, you're just going home and saying, I respect you enough just to tell you what I'm going to be doing, but I'm really excited about it, and I'm really going to be doing it, okay? So, you could actually recommend to your prospects to actually say those words to their spouse, and I've done that before, and it's worked well. Another thing that you could tell them to do is, listen, if you feel that it's absolutely necessary for you to go home and get your partner's approval to do this, then what I would recommend is that you go home and you show them the video of the tour, the online tour. After the tour video, get them on the phone with me ASAP, because they're going to have questions and you're not going to be able to answer them because you just saw this for the first time, okay? So you're just taking them through how to build a business by using the 1, 2, 3 system with their spouse. They could also invite their spouse for a one-on-one meeting. So, different things like that. But, another great question is, would you still do this business even if your spouse did not approve, right? Because, a lot of people do this business even if their spouse doesn't approve, because it's something that they really want to do. And, if it's something that you really want to do, then you should do it, in my opinion, right? So there's a lot of different ideas and ways that you can go ahead and handle this objection, and I'm sure Renee has a lot of great ones.
Yeah, pretty not so much more to add on to that, because you guys basically hit it right on the nail. I love asking that question again, where it's going to peel that layer of the onion again here, where you ask them, well, if your spouse actually did say no, would you still do it for yourself because you saw how this can benefit you and save or make you some money? And of course they'll usually say yes, and then you say, well, if you're going to do it anyways, and you know that you're going to be saving or making some money in a tax benefit, if I were you, I would suggest to join right away. And when you get home, you tell your hubby or your wifey, hey, I just found a great way to help us save $3,000 to $9,000 in taxes. And your sponsor is going to ask you, well, how does that work? And your job is to again, book a time right away to either watch the video, like we were said, or to book a time to meet up again and to have your spouse, watch, go through the same process of watching, the tour, and again, seeing those tax benefits as well too, right? So I think pretty much you guys all understand how to handle this one now. Again, just ask that, if you question, or if your spouse was to be negative, would you still do it for yourself? Boom, that is the secret to this one over here. So moving right along to the next objection here, okay, is, ooh, funny one. Again, this one, I don't really get so often anymore, but how do I know that this company will last, will be here for a long time? Leo, why don't you start first? Usually this sounds like it comes from someone who is either, skeptical, negative, or maybe it's someone who's been a long time MLMer and has seen too many companies, starting and stopping, and they want to know, well, what makes this company different? And how would you kind of handle that kind of an objection?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Renee. A lot of times I hear this from people who have been in the industry for a while, and they've been with companies that have gone out of business, and they got hurt, and there's feelings associated with that and emotions, and now they're traumatized, and there's a lot of stories that come with that, right? So they're it's just fear. They're just scared. They just want to make sure that if they get started in this company, that the same thing that happened to them with other companies is not going to happen to them with this company. Well, the mistake that they actually made in the past, if they were with another company, is they actually chose to do that company from a consumer point of view instead of a business owner point of view. Because if they evaluated that company that they were with from a business owner point of view, then they would have never joined that company and they wouldn't have gotten hurt. Okay, so again, it's our responsibility as luxury consultants to educate people on how to evaluate the global wealth trade opportunity from a business point of view and not from a consumer point of view, so that they can make a decision that they're comfortable with. And I mean, the easiest and the simplest and the quickest way to answer this objection is, how do I know this company will last? It's been around for 10 years. Show me a company that's been around for 10 years that's not around anymore. It's very, very rare that you're going to find a company. Thousands of companies in direct sales do not make it past 18 months. A little less than thousands make it past 2 to 3 years. 5 years, you're on the right track. 8 years, you might be going somewhere. 10 years, you're not going anywhere. 10 years, you're going to be around for a very, very, very long time. So, they don't have to worry about that question with us. And it's actually a silly question to us because we have been around for 10 years. We've got media accolades from some of the top publications in the world. We've got magazines talking about us. We're on TV shows. We're growing every year. We're coming out with new product lines every year. So the fact that somebody's even asking that question is probably coming from fear of something that happened to them in the past. And again, peeling the layer of the onion, we can ask them questions to figure out what exactly happened to them. So why are you asking me that question? Are you asking me that question because you used to be a part of a company? What happened with that company? Did it go out of business? Well, you don't have to worry about that because we're a completely different company. So it doesn't even make sense to compare us to any other companies that you've been with before. And again, just ask them questions, peel the layers of the onion, and after your conversation, they will actually realize that it was a silly question in the beginning to ask.
And one thing I want to mention before we move on here as well too is that sometimes in some cases they actually might mean this question. They actually might have a concern. Again, 10 years plus, 8+ ranking on the Better Business Bureau. Only ever 2 complaints in the last 10 years. Again, both were handled really quickly. While other companies like LV or other Justice companies are gone, or they have an S- ranking. 3,000 complaints, only half are closed. And what I'd love to mention as well, a quick point here, is that it does come down to the ownership. You can have great big companies like Nortel or Enron, but because of some corrupt high-level people ownership, the company might die. And so I always want to add, for those of the people who actually have a concern about this, it's not one of those sort of silly objections. They actually have a deep concern because something happened before, and is that I mean, our owner again, he was already a multimillionaire before he started this company. He's not doing it, just for him to make that quick buck and close shop. And if that was the case, we would be here after 10 years. And the owner is doing it because he has a vision of putting his son on the front cover of Forbes magazine as the youngest millionaire under the age of 25, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. And of course, I mean, we've had huge, media brands, Holt Renfrew who wanted to, own Fairy Mosh and buy it for me. Shopping Chow wanted to sell his product. So, I mean, if the CEO was here for that quick purpose, that quick money, he could have done that a long time ago. But he's here to put his son again on the front cover of Forbes magazine, youngest millionaire of a billion-dollar company. And that's the most important thing about people who actually had that real concern about this. And so, again, I always tell people as well that, if you have one bad experience at an Italian restaurant, does it mean that all Italian restaurants are bad? Of course not, right? So if someone is giving you the objection that, well, I've done one and that one failed, well, you can't even relate that because, again, the whole Italian restaurant example, if you have one bad experience at a pizza shop, does it mean that all pizza shops are bad? Of course not, right? So, Anne-Marie, anything you want to add before we move on to the next objection here?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, for me, it's interesting because that doesn't really happen often. But when I heard this the first time, I literally asked the person, I asked them, what's your story? What happened? Like something must have happened. Do you still have stuff in your garage? Or was it, did you join it went out of business? Like, what is it? Right? Because people don't ask that question unless they have a story behind it. And after, hearing more of the story and what happened, I'll do a feel self-found, like I understand, I get it, the company you joined went out of business, wow, that must have been embarrassing, maybe you even damaged some relationship and you just decide that you're never going to get involved again because it didn't, you didn't want to risk that type of bad emotion again. Now, I totally get it, but let me ask you a question. Do you really think it was network marketing that let you down, or do you think it was just that specific company, right? And then they'll realize it was just that company that was a bad company, right? Because primary good company stays forever.
Love it.
By that point, I'd say just like Lior, this company's been around for 10 years. If you know anything about business, usually 3 to 5 years they're gone. And then I show the accolades, Oprah Winfrey, American Business Journal, Canadian Business Journal, everything. Like, if this company was to go anywhere, those people would not talk about it. So now that you see how big and bigger it's going, you probably see how many years it's going to last, longer and longer. And that's how it ended. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I can't believe it's already 10:18. I mean, an hour has already passed by, and we haven't even gone through, a big chunk of the stuff. We have 3 more objections coming up, and we haven't even gone through today. So, unfortunately, we do respect your time, and we do want to make sure that people, can, I just don't want to go for too long here. I guess we're going to have to do a part 3 of this training. I guess, well, probably not next week because next week we do have, of course, the amazing convention. Folks, make sure your life depends on it. Make sure you're at convention. But we will have to do a part 3 to handling objections. If you have any last-minute questions or comments, or if you have your own personal objections that you get that you want us to answer, please feel free to enter in your question or your objection into the question box right now so we can keep track. And please do feel free to send in your comments or your questions. We do appreciate your comments as well. But aside from that, we apologize for this. I mean, I can't believe, Lior and Anne-Marie, that an hour has already gone by here, folks. And so why don't we just read over the comments or questions we have, and we'll end the call for tonight. And we'll probably do this call again in about 2 or 3 weeks for part 3. Lior, Anne-Marie, can you join me again for the part 3 of this incredible training?
It would be my pleasure.
I don't really know anything else that I would rather do, Renee. So, I'm looking forward to it. I can't, I also can't believe that, an hour's gone by. I feel like we've gotten a lot of information out to the luxury consultants. I hope that everybody on this call benefited from this call. I hope you guys have the knowledge now that you need to go out there and answer the common objections that we get. And if you do have any common objections that you get or any questions, make sure you type them into the question box, and we will be more than happy to be able to answer them on the next call. And please, 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 if you don't have your convention ticket, I am begging you. You don't know why I'm begging you, and the only way that you'll know why I'm begging you to be at convention is if you're actually at convention. You will know why I'm begging you to be at convention, because if I don't beg you to be at convention, and if you don't go to convention, and you miss it, you are going to say, Lior, why didn't you beg me to go to convention? All right? That's how important convention is. Your life depends on it. Your business depends on it. You will get an incredible, incredible amount of belief, knowledge, everything, stories. I've been to 5 conventions myself, and every single convention I learn a ton of stuff. So it's not too late, all right? It's not too late. I don't care where you are in the world. If you're on the other side of the world, North Pole, South Pole, East Pole, West Pole, wherever you are, get your convention ticket, book your flight, get to Toronto. I can't wait to see everybody this Thursday in Toronto. And thank you very much, Anne-Marie, for being on this call with me. Great, great answers you gave. And Renee, thank you as well. And, of course, thank you to all of the luxury consultants on the call as well.
Great. Anne-Marie, did you have anything you want to add as well?
Yeah, I just had a thought, like, because obviously next week, this coming week is convention, and if you're not coming to the convention, you're losing out, so just get your plane, definitely. And you will finally hear the whole story of Sherry Zhao by coming to convention.
You can get the in-person story version from Sherry herself. And, folks, there's people flying in, from all over the world. I mean, how about people coming from Nigeria, from Taiwan, from Australia? People are flying in from Australia. They're paying, I don't know, thousands of dollars for their flight and for the hotel just to be at convention. Anyone who lives, within a 5 to 10 hour driving distance or, a flight, you have no excuse but to get your butt to convention, because it will change your life. People are flying, 25 plus hours to be here. So, and they're paying thousands of dollars for the flight and the hotel. So, I mean, if you're anywhere driving distance, within a 5-hour flight, you got to do your best. You have no reason but to be at our convention. And we'll finish off with the last comment, and things coming in here. Actually, Sherry has a comment. She says, I look forward to seeing you all at convention and sharing with you my story and details. I only missed $10,000 a month for a few years because I was thinking about it for 7 days. So, folks, you heard it from herself. She's missing only about $10,000 a month in residual income because she was thinking about it for 7 days. And so, again, I can't wait for you to hear her story in person. Barbara, in response to Lior saying how we should charge people for this training, she said, okay, we will pay. Good stuff, leaders. Again, Zara asked the question, well, apart from tax benefits and discovering your why, are there any other points that can be used to handle objections? Again, a tax benefit to your why are just, 2 really major points, of course, in terms of how to handle objections. But tonight, I would play through the part 1 training and the part 2 training, because there are many other points to handle objections depending on what kind of objection you're actually getting, right? So, again, all objections boil down to 2 things. It's either a limited belief in themselves or a limited belief in the industry. And so once you determine those 2 things, it's your job to try to help them overcome that, okay? So Linda Reynolds says, great to see you this week at convention. Peter Coyne says, great training from the whole team. I look forward to reviewing this again from the recording. Thank you so much. We have another objection that we have to add to the list by Mary saying, a common objection, which is, I don't have whom to sell the stuff to, or, I don't know who to sell the stuff to. Again, great objection. We're going to add that to the list for the next training here. Peter asked the question, off topic, but can we still bring prospects to the fashion show? Is there a limit? The answer is you can bring anyone that you want to the fashion show. There's no limit. Bring everyone you possibly can to the fashion show. It is $15, I believe, for the members, but free for guests. So bring as many people as you can to the fashion show, because that will explode your business. Again, from Colin, she says, great job, guys. Great information for us to use. Can't wait for convention to the billion. Again, thank you so much, Colleen. My thoughts exactly. Again, another one from Mary saying, common objection, what if I'm not able to get people on board to upgrade my package within 30 days? Okay, great. We can handle that question for next week as well, too. And she had another question saying, how do I link up with other GWT electric consultants here in London? Mary, go on to the GWT Family Facebook page. Just ask that question of who is around in the London area in GWT. I'm sure you get a lot of people responding to help and support you for that. And of course, that's most of the questions we had coming in. And aside from that, once again, thanks our co-trainers for tonight, Mr. Leor Skater and Anne-Marie Chantel. Thank you so much, guys, and look forward to the same training, part 3, probably in about 2 or 3 weeks. So aside from that, have yourselves a wonderful evening, morning, or afternoon. And thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night. And again, yes, the training will be recorded and put on our GWT under Handling Objections Part 2. Again, good night, folks. Thank you.